So what's going on, YouTube? I just wanted to make another video. Got bored. So I had a thing I want to make a video on. It's a CRF 150F. I think it's a 05 model. And for the longest time, it has been having this issue, which I'll play here in a second, of where you know, yak the throttle, and it totally dies on you. Totally just putters out. When it gets hot, when you hit the throttle, it'll take a second, but then the RPMs will catch up. But you'll hear it, and I'll do it for you in a second. You'll yak it, and it'll be a pause, and then the engine will start increasing in RPM. It took me forever to figure out what the actual issue is, and it was looking me right in the face the entire time. But I want to make this video for y'all overthinkers out there, or for people, you know, just kind of getting into it, or trying to learn something new. That's something that really had me going crazy. I'll tell you what it is. It's a carburetor, of course. It's always the carburetor. But I went through this carburetor 3 or 4 times, cleaning it profusely, making sure it was perfect. Everything about it is perfect. The jets were clean. All the small passages and stuff were clean. Rebuilt it, made sure all the gaskets were good. Still wouldn't fix it. I went through that carburetor at least 6 or 7, maybe even 8 times, cleaned it profusely each time. And I really did not think it could be the carburetor at that time. I also changed the ignition coil because I had a bike before that the ignition coil was going out, and it gave similar symptoms to what this was having. I even tore apart this entire engine, replaced the base gasket, the head gasket, just to confirm, make sure the timing was perfect, did all the valves and stuff like that. So just about everything that actually goes into making an engine run perfectly, I did. And I could not figure out what the issue was. So I'm going to quit talking here. I'm going to show you the issue I'm talking about, and then I'll get into showing y'all what exactly the issue was, because it is a carburetor. I mean, that was the end issue. There's something in the carburetor. The jets in the carburetor is what the issue was. I'll get to that in a second. But here we go. Let me start it up for you. So I don't know how good you can hear me, but here's the bike running right now. This is on the stock jetting. Turn that idle down a little bit so you can hear me a little better. Now these bikes are set to idle at 1400 RPM, which is pretty high, but we'll get to that later. And that might be about 1400. I don't know. I usually just tune it to where I like it. But anyhow, this is its stock running. This is on stock jets, stock everything. I want to point out to you guys, this bike has had no upgrades. I mean, it's got a lot of stickers on it. That my cousin owned it before me. No upgrades though. Stock exhaust, stock intake, stock air filter, everything is stock. No performance aspects to help bring in more air or more fuel. So hypothetically, this bike should run perfectly on the stock jets it came from the factory, considering the carburetor's clean and the engine's in good condition. Which it is, because I took it apart and confirmed all that. I want to show you guys the issue this bike's having. So watch my hand and listen to the motor. Hear that? And there's no amount of playing around down there with the idle air fuel screw mixture that you can do that'll make it run the way you want it to run, where it doesn't do this. There you go, there's a nice slow rev, but try to give it any go. So basically you have to roll on the throttle. You have to really roll on the throttle to make it run, make it rev right. And this happens when you're on the ride too. You'll be trying to accelerate, you'll whack it open, and it'll just die on you. Cut out 100%. It's like an extra kill switch if you ask me. So now I'm going to get into showing you what the issue is. It's carburetor. So you're going to have to pull off the carburetor. And this is if you've confirmed that everything else is decent. So you got to make sure everything else is good. You want to make sure the carburetor's clean when this is happening. You want to make sure you don't have any leaks on the intake manifold. Spark plug's good, ignition's good, compression's good, both your valves are good, you're in time. And also your CDI box, which is hidden up here under the tank. Actually, it's right there. You see it. Is all in good condition. You got to make sure those are in good condition before you can move on. So I'm going to show you what the issue is right now. And this is for older bikes especially. And this is mind-boggling to me. I've never understood why this happens. But here we go. What we're going to do, I'm going to pull this carburetor off. 2 bolts right there. Unscrew this. And then the fuel line on the other side is fairly easy to get out. And there's a bunch of videos out there that'll show you how to do it. So let me get that off for you guys really quick. And I'll meet up with you guys when I have it on the bench. Alright, so here we go. This is the carburetor. This is with our carburetor ball pulled off. This is the carburetor ball. And I'm not really going to talk about how carburetors work or anything like that. But I will give you the quick summary of it. On simple carburetors like motorcycle carburetors, especially dirt bike carburetors, you have you can see it right there, that little one down there, that's called your pilot jet. That's your main jet right there. These two things meter the amount of fuel going into the combustion chamber. So if they're too big, too small, you're gonna see that reflected on the engine, i.e. running rich or lean. What I want to get to though is, after doing all this, I was really ticked off because I went through a lot to try to figure out what the hell was the issue with this motorcycle. Why would it not run right? I mean, anything. And the one thing I was changing was the pilot jet. I was changing that pilot jet because when you do quick revs like that, your pilot jet's got to be feeding enough fuel for it to be able to handle that amount. Because when you open the throttle all the way up, because there's a little throttle, you'll see it. The little throttle that sits down there where my finger is. When you open it all the way up like that, you're allowing maximum amount of air in. So you got to be running fairly rich, or fairly rich on the pilot circuit, so the influx of entering air, there'll be enough fuel in there to match it before it can pull from the main jet. So I was changing the pilot, changing the budget, getting no different results. What I finally did, the last thing I did was I changed out this main jet right here. And all I did was I took a main jet from another carburetor I had, and I drilled it out. And they take really long, little small drill bits and Dremels to do it, and I don't recommend it. Don't do it on the main jet you're relying on. Buy another carburetor, buy $16 carburetor, take the main jet and drill it out. But I drilled it out, and matter of fact, I put it back in, and it actually ran. It ran better, but it didn't run perfect. So I was still running the stock pilot jet in there, because carburetors, you only want to change one thing at a time when you're changing it. So I went back and I took another pilot jet and I threw it in there. And it was actually the same size pilot jet that's on here, just a different brand. It was one of these pilot jets. So I got one of these pilot jets, which, I mean, they're same, just different makers. The bike ran perfect, just how I wanted it to run, with, of course, the stock setting here. I mean, I changed it up a little bit just so I got the idle I wanted. But regardless, the fix to that issue is, and I've seen a lot of people online, but I've seen no real concise answers about what to do for this. But the answer is change that pilot and change that main jet. Now I'm curious because I want to replace it with two brand new main and pilot jets, and see if that makes the bike run better. Because I have a feeling that over time, these small jets build up material in them that actually close them off slowly, causing a lean mixture and then symptoms to be seen what we had on that bike. Anyway, I'm going to put in the two new jets, and for those of you wondering, the stock jets for this bike are a 98 main, at least for my bike, is a 98 main and a 40S pilot jet. So 98 main, 40S pilot jet. The S on after the 40 just refers to the diameter of the holes, I guess in the orifice, I'm not 100% sure, but these holes right there, you can see them. The 40S just says that they're smaller holes, so the fuel atomizes better. I don't know, I just found that online for any of y'all that are wondering. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a 40 main jet in, a 40 pilot jet in, and I'm going to take my drilled out pilot jet, which looks like this. It's just a different type of pilot jet. Main jet, excuse me. It's just a different type of main jet that I grabbed from a quad carb. It happened to be, I forget the size of its stock, but I drilled it out as well. And I just used a very small drill, but it basically fit inside the jet already. It just wouldn't go through all the way. Here it is right here. And I'll put this in there with the other one, and I'll show y'all the difference of how it runs compared to this. So the answer, or at least the problem that I found that works the best, and this is for most of these dirt bikes, is richen it up on the high side, richen it up on the wide open side. Now I'm going to make another video here in a little bit when I get my stock replacement jets of putting in the same 40S number 98, and I want to see if it runs the exact same, and I have a feeling it will. And this is because little stuff builds up inside those jets over time, just additives of fuel that slowly constrict those holes to a point. Like I said, that's not confirmed, but if I have this happen on another engine too, 7.5 Mercury outboard engine that I drilled out the main jet, ran perfectly. And for all y'all's wondering, oh, too rich, you pull that spark plug out, is the perfect tan color that you wanted. And this bike's getting that perfect tan color too. So change out the main jet. I would love to hear any feedback or anything. I'm gonna quickly put it back on the bike. So I'll get to the closing in a minute, but I'll put it back on the bike and show you the difference. So here we go. This is it